ahead and get started. Thank you all for coming. This is What Can I Do with the Major in Animal Science, and I need my I'm Chantel. I'm with Career, Internship, and Student Employment Services. Right down the hall here, right outside of the rec center and past the Bobcat Grill, room 177. If you guys haven't been down there, please stop by anytime. We're there to help you with be successful in school. We're there to help you with your career transition at the end of your college years, and that's what we're doing here tonight, is to share some of the experienced wisdom with you. Our mission statement at our office is to engage you in the career planning process through self-assessment, understanding of what is available in the world of work so you can set goals and market yourself. We'll help you connect with employers. We have Career Fair for that purpose and a few other events. We have info sessions, that kind of thing for that, to embark you on a successful career path, whatever you determine that to be. We all know that we all have different ideas of what a successful career path is, so that's kind of what we're here to talk about tonight. We have, if you guys haven't signed up at mycatcareers.com, I highly recommend signing up there. There's opportunities there for student employment if you want to work while you're going to school. Internship, lots of internship positions available there, and full-time employment. And then after you finish your degree, there's also full-time alumni experience type positions available there too. So even after you're done, a few years down the road, come back and keep connected with that mycatcareers.com. We also offer career coaching and advising. We have great career coaches that do resume critiques, mock interviews. We also have on-campus interviews. Today, Kiewit was on campus interviewing engineers for some of their internship and full-time position programs. Again, you can come back and check as alumni and look for jobs and see what's going on out there if you're looking at transitioning or looking for new jobs. In today's economy, we have a lot of alumni coming back, either returning back to school, but they're also looking at transitioning into different things. You know, if they get laid off from a job or something like that. Things are a little rough right now, as we all know. We have the fairs, workshops like this, presentations, and then we have also other career resources in our office. So please stop by. Our services are available to you. Everything is free, and we're there to help you out. So take advantage of those. This is our career model. We'll help you with all of these things. It's kind of a process as you go through your schooling and then start your transition into the professional world. We start with your self-assessment. Ask you questions like what interests you, what motivates you, what do you want in your future, what drives you, where are your passions. We transition that into the world of work. How do those fit into what you want to do in the future? We have different surveys and tests you can take to kind of determine where your strengths and weaknesses fit into what career paths are out there. Just to kind of spark your imagination, give you some ideas and some things to explore. Then you move into the summer jobs, the internships, and this kind of goes with your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. Although every year you probably check back with that self-assessment because those things change as different things occur in your life and stuff. So internships, big thing. If you can do one, you absolutely must do one, absolutely. But if you can do more than one, it's a good idea. It's a way to get your toes in the water, test some things out, see what works for you, see what doesn't work for you. So we really encourage that, and we have those resources for you in our office. And then moving into your senior year, we have the career and job search help for you. We have the networking, the resume critiques. We have the career fair, where you can really get and talk to those recruiters from different companies. Find out what things are really like, ask them really good questions. Tonight, we're going to hear from Leah Olson. She's the broker and director of the Ranch and Recreation Department, is that right? Division of Prudential Montana Ranch and Recreational Group. Leoma Wells, she's a DNA THE, which I'm hoping to learn more about. What do those letters mean? At the American Semitole Association, and Jackie Atkins, who's a PhD and embryologist at Progenesis. So if you guys want to come up, have a seat, and tell us a little bit about yourself. I'll cover this up so nobody gets blank. Okay. Yeah, if you want to just kind of give us a background on, give us your background, what your major was, what you liked about it, and how you got to where you are now.
I'm Leah. I'm first on the list. I'm born and raised Montanan, fifth generation. Everybody in my family is an MSU Bobcat. So I was just pretty much told I had to go to school here. But it worked out well. When I was in high school, my high school advisor pushed me towards education and art, which was just some stuff that I had talent in, not necessarily where my interests lie. And after a couple of years of school, I got a job as a veterinary assistant, which is really where my passion was, in more of the science field and the animal industry. I was told in high school that that probably wasn't where I should go because of my grades. But once I was able to switch my major, my grades improved because my interest obviously was, I was taking courses in something that I was interested in. Long story short, I worked for this vet while I was going to school. Did it as an internship, just as Chantal was mentioning. Got credit for that while I was going to school. And where my focus was, I believed I was going to head into veterinary pharmaceutical sales, travel around the state, use my influence of networking, people I know in all the different communities, and work with vets in that aspect, and work in a traveling job. But realistically, it didn't really work very well for my lifestyle. I couldn't be on the road all week long and home a couple days of the week because I live on a ranch. So I would have to have somebody come home and stay at my house and take care of everything. While I was at the vet, we learned, mostly in this community, in the Bozeman area, a lot of people move here, they want acreage, they want animals. They find that they need help learning how to live this lifestyle. And so the vet and I decided to start some consulting business, and that sort of tied me into the real estate world, where I was used as a consultant to help new landowners implement some grazing practices, animal health, basically just the basics that a lot of people take for granted, that a lot of these newcomers into our area don't even know the first thing about. Irrigation, hay, all of that. That transitioned into my real estate career. I got licensed as a real estate agent, hence became a broker, and then the company I was working for got merged into a larger company, and we started this ranch division, and it's statewide. We work all over. I think one of the advantages that I have from my MSU experience is the people I know. I could go to any community in the state and know how to find out information in that community because of somebody I met through school, or some kind of connection through this campus. It's a really valuable tool, at least in that doing, but I don't want to take up too much time. But anyway, my degree specifically was ranch management, which was an option. I graduated in '94. There was a strict science option or a nutrition option in animal science. The ranch management degree was very well-rounded. It had communication, it had business, law, as well as the myriad of animal and range-related classes that you're available, that you can take in your curriculum. And I think the range stuff I use every day. I mean, I took it for granted when I was in college, but if I could go back to school, I would take more range classes because it's just very practical stuff, especially in the environmental world we're living in. But I liked my degree, and I still would promote it.
I'm Leoma Wells, and I did not graduate from MSU. Sorry to disappoint you. I graduated from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And I was kind of similar, grew up, big ranching background. I grew up in a town of 800 people in California. I know you don't hear of that very often anymore, but I did have 800 people in my town, and so going to college, it was the biggest city, and it was like 40,000 people, a lot like Bozeman. And so I was a little intimidated starting out because I came from a high school where my high school, same kind of idea, my counselors pushed me toward animals and pre-vet, because they're like, oh, well, you like animals, this will be perfect for you. You can go the pre-vet route. So I kind of set myself up for failure my first quarter because I signed up for Bio 151, chemistry. I thought I was going to be all on top of it. And my very first quarter of college was very, very rough because I discovered pretty quickly that I didn't know how to study. And so I came through, and my advisor was the best thing that I relied on quite a bit at Cal Poly, and I came in pre-vet like I said, and quickly he urged me to do an internship with a veterinarian. And he said, have you ever hung out with a veterinarian for long? And I said, no, I haven't. And he said, well, let's get you set up with an internship. So my freshman summer, I went home and worked because I told him I wasn't ready to do that. And so I went home and worked with my parents and came back my sophomore year. And I actually, at Cal Poly, they have animal, I'm not positive at MSU, but at Cal Poly we have different animal units, and you can live at the different units. Like you can live at the sheep unit or the beef unit. Well, the beef unit happened to be full, so I went to live at the sheep unit. I never had any experience with sheep. Like my ranch doesn't have sheep on it. So it was pretty humbling to experience something that I had no capability whatsoever. I mean, it was a total learning experience because sheep are born to die, and I swear they give up. You would go out, and it was just like, you were healthy this morning, what's wrong with you? And so my sophomore summer, I interned with a large animal equine vet on the Central Coast of California, and it was awesome. She was a surgical vet, so we did a lot of surgeries, a lot of everything else, but she was a very brutal person as far as, if this is what you want, you have to go for it. If this isn't what you want, you need to, start thinking about that now. And I mean, she put me through the ringer. I mean, she'd been through 2 divorces. She had 3 kids. She was all over the state of California, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because that was her passion. She was a good veterinarian. She was good at what she did, and she was awesome. However, I quickly discovered that that wasn't where I wanted to go in my life. Like, I didn't want to be on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I didn't think that I had that driving force, that passion inside of me. So I came back from that internship a much better person for it, because knowing more where my career goals lied. However, now here I am 2 years in to pre-vet, and I'm suddenly wanting to switch my concentration. I knew I still wanted to do animal science, I just wasn't sure what. So my advisor and I sat down, and he brought up, how about meat science? Like you're interested in meat cutting and processing, and I said, oh boy, okay. And then we did a little bit of range. I took some range classes to see if that was where my interest lied, and really just didn't spark anything for me. So my junior kind of spring semester, I did some embryology, reproductive classes for equine, fell in love, and I absolutely loved everything about it. And considered going just into the embryology field, and for some reason I just didn't ever make it there, but that was where I really liked it. And then, so when I graduated from Cal Poly, I knew I wanted to graduate in 4 years, so I really pushed to do that because I wanted out of school. I was paying for it all myself, and debt, as you know, quickly rises when you're paying for it yourself. So I graduated with animal science with an ag business minor. And so when I graduated, I did an internship at Superior Farms up in Northern California, which is a sheep processing facility. They have 3 facilities in the United States. One's in Dixon, California, one's in Denver, and then one's in Boston. So I did a 3-month internship with them, and I once again discovered that meat science was not where I wanted to make my career path. And I had met a gentleman from American Simmental Association at Cattlemen's Convention in 2005. And he had taken down my information because I was interested in internships, learning more about it. At American Simmental, we do offer a calving internship during the spring semester. It runs from January to April. You calve out about 1,000 head of cows, freezing cold weather, I mean, every condition it'll throw at you. So I was interested in that. At the time, they already had an intern, so I had kind of considered coming up here and just doing an internship with him after I graduated. Well, he happened to call me and they had a job opening. And I freaked out because I was like, I'd been in California all my life. I didn't know anyone in Montana. I didn't know anything about Montana. I thought I would like Montana, but I didn't know. And so they flew me up here. I spent 3 days here, absolutely fell in love with Bozeman. We did a little bit of eastern Montana. We went to a couple ranches. And I just decided this is where I wanted to at least start out my career. So they gave me a really good job at American Simmental. I started out in communications, writing press releases, doing media releases, and really, really want to emphasize, if you can pay attention in those classes in college, I really regret now that I did not take more communications classes, because I am constantly, every day, writing emails, writing letters. I mean, you're addressing the public, and it's very difficult when you don't have a good writing base, and you have to keep reaching out to people because they kind of expect you to have that base. So if you can take any sorts of communications, media releases classes, press releases, it's something you should definitely know, especially starting out at the ground floor. I evolved into doing THE, which is total herd enrollment. I was like, THE, we abbreviate total herd enrollment. I'm the lead on that program, so I manage about 80,000 cows across this nation. On any given day, I can talk between 100 and 200 producers. And I basically collect all the calving data, run EPDs for them. We do 2 sire summaries every year, which is where we take all those EPDs, expected production difference. Sorry, I forget that probably everyone doesn't know that, but we take all those, return to the cattle producers, just their printouts of their data, letting them know how good those calves are being evaluated on paper, not just how they look in the pasture. Last summer, Jerry decided to give me additional responsibilities, so now I'm doing DNA. And so you'll learn quickly, like when you evolve into this, if your boss says, can you do this, you quickly say yes. Because in this economy, we want to keep our jobs. You don't want to question your boss. So if at all, like you're feeling overwhelmed, yeah, that's a problem, but always try to accept new responsibilities. So now I'm doing DNA. What I'm doing with that is parent verification of cattle. So I send out kits, they pull the tail hair on their animal, they mail it into the lab, we tell them who that animal is and whether it is indeed, worth as much money as they're hoping. So that's not really the basis of it, but that's kind of what I do. And so that's where I'm at now, and I guess, I don't want to take up too much time. So I would just really encourage you. I think this is really awesome that she does all these workshops for you, because I don't think there's anything available like this when I went to school in 2006. And so definitely utilize these. Networking is very huge. Try to get to know everyone in your department, because you're going to reach out to them. The Alumni Association after you graduate is very large. And if you make those connections now, it's a lot easier when you graduate to utilize and take advantage of those.
All right, well, I'm Jackie Atkins. I am also a Montana State graduate, although my undergraduate degree was in the biotech program, veterinary biotechnology program through the College of Agriculture. And how I got there was kind of a curvy path. I didn't start off my freshman year thinking this is what I'm going to do. I started off thinking I wanted to do international egg business, something along those lines. And my very first English class, you had to write a paper in your major. And the first few business articles I read, I just couldn't get through them, and I thought that's a really bad sign. So I changed majors into animal science, and actually really liked the animal science program, but I was kind of off the schedule and would have finished a year longer than I wanted to take. So then I changed majors the third time into this vet molecular biotechnology program, which was kind of pre-vet degree. And in my senior year of that degree, we took a lot of lab classes that had, like 15, 20 hours of lab in a week. And so we got to know our teaching assistants really well in that class, and they were all graduate students. And so visiting with them, and at the same time I was taking Jim Bardnelli's reproductive physiology class and also the repro management class at the same time. So learning about graduate education and ending up in these classes that I absolutely love, kind of that happening at the same moment led me to pursue graduate school in reproductive physiology. So I graduated in 2002, and I took a year off, which I did after high school as well, and I absolutely promote taking some time to sort of rediscover yourself. But I took a year off and ended up in graduate school a year later getting a master's and then PhD at the University of Missouri, and loved it. Loved every bit of the program, really, because it was my passion. It was a lot of hard work. I've never worked so hard in my entire life, but I loved every minute of it. So did that and graduated about 2 years ago, and as I was graduating, I was looking for work kind of all across the country, but I'm from North Dakota, my husband's from Idaho. We wanted to end up back in this northern area of the country, and so I was applying to jobs all over, like in Tennessee, and my heart just wasn't in it, and I knew Chuck Yu, my current boss. I knew that he was doing some embryo transport work based out of Bozeman, And I just called him and explained to him my situation, and I had met him once before. And so he kind of knew me, he knew a little bit about my background, and he sort of made a position available for me. So I would think that's one lesson to maybe walk out of this door with, is that you don't always have to apply for the job that's listed in the classifieds, especially in this economy. You might need to sort of make some of those opportunities happen for you. So anyway, so about 2 years ago, I had this conversation with Chuck, and it turns out that he had maybe a position that I could fill in his company, and I came to work here in Bozeman about 2 years ago. And he has a small embryo transfer company. There's only 3 of us that work there. And my current job, I'm an embryologist. I do a lot of the laboratory work, not as much as the hands-on cattle work, which is what I trained myself to do in graduate school. But I'm learning more. I'm kind of expanding what I know within that industry, and really love it. I travel. My job is 100% travel. We don't have a clinic. So all the work we do is on farm, and it's in Idaho and Nebraska and North Dakota and kind of all over. So I travel a lot, but when I'm home, I'm home. I'm not grading papers. I'm not really checking email maybe. I just didn't have that time for myself and my personal life. So really appreciate that. And we are, I guess, a little bit about our company. We're just embryo transfer company that my boss worked in this industry for about 25 years and worked for Transova for most of that time, and then Brent broke off about 5 years ago and opened up his own embryo transfer business. And we work for really 2 main clients, and but they keep us pretty busy. So yeah, they're really, really large ranches. And a lot of my work is laboratory oriented. It's very technical. You need to be able to remember details, remember numbers, work pretty quickly, and stay focused. And but if you can do that, really anybody can do it. You know, if you've got those skills, you don't really have to have a laboratory background. We can teach you those techniques. So I can't do anything else, but happy to answer questions. I'm sure these are.
Let's open it up for questions if you guys have any on that.
Would you say that the degree is primarily learning how to handle like animal breeding and genetics and stuff like that? Because I'm kind of getting the gist. It seems like at least 2 of you are heavily involved in that. Is that kind of the main pursuit of the degree?
You want to go first?
Well, I think 2 things. I think one of the things you should do with your college education is get well-rounded. So you need to take those literature classes. You need to take those communication classes, you know, to sort of broaden yourself. But the focus of the degree, there's several different emphasis areas, and I think you need to determine what you want that focus to be. And
I would say I completely and totally agree that you need to be well-rounded, especially coming out as an animal science major, because even in my job, I mean, usually 40 hours out of the week, I am in an office, which that's a new environment for me. I've never been in an office before. However, I mean, I go out to the ranches sometimes. They need help. They need help flushing. They need help breeding. You know, they need help just working cows. I mean, we'll have ranchers call me, and I'll drive up to Judith Gap, and I'm working cows for 2 days. So you need to be able to pretty much be exposed, be ready for anything with animal science. I mean, if you've never handled an animal, like that species before, just be honest with someone and say, I've never dealt with this species before. Can you please show me what you're looking for? And I can't emphasize enough that I think it's both. I mean, if you're going to be an animal science major, someone's going to expect you to know certain things, or at least the gist of most of it, but no one's going to expect you to be a master in any area just coming out of college. So always be willing to say, I don't know.
Tell us about your daily work environment. Every day.
I guess my daily work environment is, like I mentioned before, from 8:30 to 4:30 our phones come on. And I mean, we're even expanding internationally now, where we have, breeders from Mexico, breeders, from Canada, and that's always really entertaining, hearing their A's. And but it's definitely, so from 8:30 to 4:30 I'm supposed to be available for phone calls. In between that, I also need to be getting paperwork done, sending emails, faxes, whatever someone needs. Yesterday was Texas issue dates for juniors. So I had kids, as young as 9 years old needing papers on their heifer to be issued. So you learn to juggle. You learn to multitask a lot in my job because no one day is the same as the last. There's always different cycles in the cattle industry, so I roll with those cycles. And I could be registering Angus cows one day and Simmental cows the next because we're a multi-breed registry. So you always have to be on your toes. I also have to be good with numbers, memory, people's names. I know that sounds finicky, but when you go into customer service, knowing something about them. My brother-in-law taught me a really cool thing that every time I have someone new, I write their name down on the index card and something interesting about that person. So when they call me the next time, I'll be able to say, how's your wife Mary? How's your new baby who's 2 months old? You kind of know key things about those people and it makes them feel connected. And I think that's the biggest thing about my job is just making those connections because that's what keeps people coming back in our industry. So
I guess in any business, people have to find you. They have to know what you do, where you're at, how to find your business. So marketing is a huge deal. You have to portray a good public image, and there's a million ways to do that. But behind that public image, you have to have customer service. So a lot of this, this well-roundedness that they've both been hammered is, you can't say it enough. Obviously your interests lie in a specific part of your degree, that's why you're taking it, but these extra classes that these advisors and the curriculum course people have decided are a good idea are just priceless. Some of the things I learned in communication and accounting and things that at the time I was like, oh, I don't want to take this class, I don't even want to go, but I use it every day, and the people that put these curriculums together knew what they were priming us for. But a daily activity for me is, it's all based around customer service. I'm hired to help somebody promote their ranch and sell it, and so I have to figure out what people are looking for, what information, and with my background and the lifestyle that I was raised in, I feel like somebody similar to myself would be a good representative to sell a ranch. Anybody can go get a real estate license, but you have to have some background to know what you're talking about and feel comfortable with your clientele. And my clientele is Montanans. A lot of them are older Montanans, and as well, a lot of people know your grandparents don't trust a whole lot of people.
And they don't want some salesman coming in and being slick. They want somebody with integrity, with a good work ethic, and somebody that they trust and that they're comfortable with. And it's not always me, but that's the basis of sales is being hired and trusted, found with your marketing, and then providing this customer service, which is, again, all based around a good hard work ethic and knowing what you're talking about. And if you don't know something, bringing in a team of people that can help you solve problems and get things done. And typically, in a real estate transaction, your team is most often an accountant, most often an attorney, yourself who is a marketing and sales professional, and then knowledgeable about the property that you're representing, and then various people to get all the paperwork done. But it's different every day. It's a lot of communication, talking on the phone, sending emails. You want to know how to structure a letter because it shows that you are educated, and phone etiquette, and even now texting. Texting is becoming huge. I just forwarded a contract to somebody off my phone here just a minute ago on my way in. And so it's just, technology is changing so quickly. Probably not for you guys, but it is for us. But I can't even tell you, day in and day out, it's something different. My favorite part of my job is in the field, and seeing things, walking the land. Probably one of my worst things is knowing what weeds are, because I cannot look at anything and not see weeds. It's ruined my life. But it's also part of my job. It's a state law that landowners need to manage weeds on their property and not let them go to seed, and I love telling people that. And it actually brings the value of property down. So as you would know, I mean, as in animal science, the land is your resource to do anything with animals, and if it's not producing, it loses its value. Who cares how pretty the view is if it's full of knapweed? It's a hazard.
I also have varied days from day to day, and it also revolves around the cattle business. All the work that we do is in beef cattle, and so it revolves around different seasons, calving season, breeding season. What's sort of strange about my job is that it's not Monday through Friday. It's if we have work, if it's breeding season, we're scheduled all of May, June. It doesn't matter if it's a Saturday or a Sunday, but then I might have all of February off, so it's just, you work when you have the work, and then when you don't, you have some free time. But when we are working, it's usually long hour, 12, 14-hour days of flushing cows and freezing embryos and transferring embryos, and all of that can be long mentally, and it's really a challenge to keep yourself sort of sharp and paying attention that this embryo is in fact going into this recipient, and just disciplining yourself to stay focused is kind of a challenge. But so they're long days, and they can be stressful days. We handle high value animals and embryos, and so you kind of need to stay on it all day long, even when you've been doing it for 14 hours and you didn't eat lunch and you didn't, you need to still stay focused. But they're fun days, and we work with some really good ranches and great people, and so we work cattle all day long, but it's enjoyable. And it might be out in horrible weather, and it might be sunny and beautiful, and you take it. If you're sick, you have to go to work. We have to work when we do that work. It's kind of our days.
How much do you interact and network, and how do you keep yourself, now that you're out of school and not taking classes, educated and fresh with your information?
I guess, well, the network question, you network every day. Every person you talk to, you never know when that person, you're going to have to call upon them again for something or another thing. As far as I'm a member of my alumni association, I definitely recommend that. It keeps you tied in. It keeps you in tune with what's going on everywhere out in the industry. I happen to have a very, very good CEO at my company who keeps us on the ball as far as education. I mean, if there's something new out with Mark Carcass data, he has it on our desk, and you better have that read by tomorrow morning, because I'll have questions for you at 9 a.m. So as far as my education level, he keeps me on my toes enough where I'm reading, the first screen that comes up on my computer in the morning is cattle facts, and I'm checking the markets. You need to know what's going on around the country, just because I'm going to be talking to people from around the country today. So the drought in Texas, the drought in Oklahoma, the fires in Texas, it's very important to be up on current events, because you need to know what's going on in these people's lives. So I guess for me, networking is just, it's key to my job and keeping my job. And I think that you'll learn as you go along that the more people you get to know, the better off you are. So.
I could piggyback on that. I think every day I read some industry-specific articles. I read the agri-news religiously. I don't listen to the Ag Network, but I read their website, and obviously those are all key things that are tied into agriculture and local news. But as a licensed real estate person in Montana, you're required to take so much continuing ed every year. So we have to take at least 12 hours of education, and within the courses that are offered, there's typically a handful that are specifically related to something that I would do, that would be water related, weeds related, something to do with land. And I typically try to keep an eye out for those types of classes because that's something I'm interested in and that's more practical for what I do. But we also have ethics that we have to know inside and out, a lot of legal issues that come up, things that protect not only the consumers but ourselves as professionals as well, just keep us out of court and keep us informed. Technology is huge. Obviously, that's always ever changing, and the biggest thing we're learning is social media is all the rage, and learning how to utilize that to promote yourself and provide people with information and allow them to get to know you.
And not embarrass yourself.
Yeah, and don't embarrass yourself.
Like if I could just say one thing, if you have a Facebook page, as soon as you enter this industry, you treat it like you are talking to that person. It is huge, I think, the impact that social media has. I know that sounds weird, but it's very interesting. You can't put all your feelings out there for everyone in the world to see. So
Yeah, I just took a class recently, and this gal basically just said, never speak bad about any other person in the public because it reflects on your business character. And the other thing that's a very simple thing to do is put your drink down. If someone's taking your picture, put it behind your back or set it on the table, because somewhere an employer or a customer is gonna see those pictures someday, and it's just kind of taken for granted. It's a lot of fun to be a tailgater, but just put your beer down.
Yeah.
So you can go ahead and look at mine and see if there's any pictures of me.
I was thinking that same thing. Now you're making me go back. I'm like, ooh.
It's just little easy tips to think about, but it's such a public world. It's scary.
Yeah.
And I think this industry is a very small industry, and so I think it's important to network, but it's also, along with what we're hearing, it's important to have those interactions be positive because it's a small world. People talk. I went to grad school in Missouri, but I have connections to Montana, and if somebody, I don't know, if all of these 50 states are connected with people in animal science, and not only that, but internationally, you just get to know people from all over the world. And so if they pick up the phone and ask about John Smith and you haven't left a good impression, that's not good. So I networked a lot in graduate school. I did a lot of professional organizations within my field. The American Association of Animal Scientists and some of the reproductively focused organizations, and there's a healthy number of journal articles that come out of those groups. I stay up on those, and also keeping a thumb on the pulse of the beef industry, and tracking these mutations that have come up and how we test for them, and how that's really important to our clientele. So it's important for me to be knowledgeable in that area and to help them make some decisions. So yeah, I think you just have to take the time to keep up on the industry and read those articles and
Okay, if you knew then what you know now, what would that be?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me that I had to overcome was fear. And like I mentioned, I didn't know anyone in Montana. I moved up here without knowing a soul. I literally flew home, packed my truck, put a U-Haul together, and drove to Montana. And I didn't have a place to live. I lived in a hotel for 4 days. I think I lived at the Royal 7. I mean, it's one of those things that if you care enough to invest in yourself, obviously you do because you're here. If you care enough to invest in yourself, believe in yourself. And I would tell myself, 5 years ago that just believe it's going to work. And if it doesn't work out, then it wasn't meant to be. But just have that faith in yourself that yes, you can go to a place where you don't know anyone, and you will make friends, and you may not be the most popular person the first 3 months when you're crying and missing home, but you will eventually, like make a life for yourself. And I think I could have had a lot more doors open for me as a senior if I would have been more willing to look at out-of-state things. And so just know that about yourself. Like if you are Montana and this is where you want to be and this is where you want to stay, then great. But be open to other opportunities out there, because in this economy, someone may call you from Arkansas and say, we want you to come down and, we're here. And if that's something that you're not sure about, kind of start thinking about those kind of things, because you have to go where the money is right now, or where someone's going to offer you a job. And that may not be here, or it may be here, but just know that you can do it.
I guess, yeah, my looking back, regrets possible, it's kind of tied into the same thing. It would have been confidence, maybe, advisors telling me to go one direction when your gut or your passion is someplace else. Obviously, I think if you're passionate about something, it's a pretty big word, very elaborate, but you really want to enjoy what you do every day, and if you enjoy it, you'll be successful at it, and that will ooze out of you. People will see that you're confident, you know what you're talking about, and you're excited about it, so they'll want to hire you, they'll want to come use your business, whatever that involves. And I think even graduating, everywhere you look, they want 2 years experience, so how do you get that? And I think, Head Start is your internship. It's something that is industry related, might not be specifically what that job is, but it's the field and it's the people that are related to that, and all of that counts. And I haven't had to go apply for a job in a while, but just having that, I just want employers to, have, you just need that well-rounded, I'm not speaking very well right now, I'm thinking too much, but just like I said, you need something to give you that confidence that you're worth what you know you are, because obviously, like I said, you've taken this time to go to school and graduate, which is the second part of it, and get specific into something. And there's so many ways you can go with animal science. I think of students that I went to school with, and back then it was much more specific. There wasn't all the options that there are now, and there's a lot of people in genetics, and a lot of people that took their animal science degree home, and they have an embryo transfer lab at their ranch, and there's just things you can do. The opportunities are endless, and it's definitely a global economy.
You can, go to Russia and help them with their beef industry, and just all these opportunities that are out there. That all ties into all of our businesses, and I can go international if I choose to, or people can find me. I just have to promote myself, but it's endless. So I guess confidence is the biggest thing. Knowing that one of the things I take for granted is I know what I know, but I don't like to promote myself, brag, I guess. I was raised not to talk about yourself, and I'm amazed every day at the knowledge that I have that I take for granted, and a lot of it's just from being raised the way I was, and I think a lot of you were probably raised the same way. And it's become a multicultural community, state and United States, that I think that we have a lot to offer the world in business because of our work ethic and just general common sense. That's in short supply. All right, I'll quit talking.
I don't think I would look back with any regrets, but I would say I had, and maybe still have, some anxiety over this decision of what are you going to be when you grow up, and you don't need to have that anxiety. You can be 5 different careers if you want to. And so, you can change it. If you get into a job and you don't like it, you can change that. And so I think I had a fair amount of stress and thinking long and hard about what in the world I was going to do, and things will happen. I think if you can do some of this self-assessment and find the things that you're really interested in, and then kind of get acquainted with people who are working in that same area, and it's connections, opportunities will show up, and you just don't need to be anxious. Yeah.
Did you guys speak foreign languages when you were in your practice?
I didn't in college. I did 4 years in high school. I really wish I would have taken more Spanish because I deal with a bunch of people from Venezuela and Brazil that, you know, it's not pretty when I get on and try to explain things in Spanish.
I'm the same. I took several years of Spanish. I can translate a sentence. I couldn't spit it back out to you, but enough that I could communicate a little, but I would never consider myself, let's do business. And, you know, the cultural thing, I think, is more important than the language barrier almost. I went to a national meeting where we just discussed small factors of cultural differences in business, and the Asian cultures are so different than ours, and we can offend people so easily by handing them a business card the wrong way, and just little things that I think those little small practices of just cultural etiquette is almost more important than language.
It's a big one. I agree with that.
But you're still gonna screw up.
Well, with good intentions.
Yeah, with good intentions.
And I took I thought I wanted to go down an international business route, so I took 4 years of Spanish in high school and then continued Spanish classes here. But then for the past, 6 years, I haven't really touched it, and so I've lost a lot of that, but I would encourage it, certainly.
I think there's no doubt it's a cultural, it's a global economy, and there's no question about it that if you could do that, if you could specify into some culture that you're interested in, I think you would have an advantage.
On that note, I want to introduce our esteemed department head here. Dr. Tom, he's going to tell us a little bit about the program. Fill us in on the link.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate your comments. That was really good. Some of the other things that, when you go and interview, dress for an interview, that would be my biggest advice. In fact, we're interviewing candidates for some of our positions in the department, and there is one person that was kind of, didn't dress really for like a faculty position, so dress appropriately. And when I was down at New Mexico State University, and there was a person there, I was at a research center in Clayton, New Mexico, came up and he was fine interviewing up there with the advisory committee in blue jeans and a nice press shirt and a jacket. And then he went down and interviewed at Las Cruces, and he went to the dean's office, and the dean came back. It's like, you're not hiring him, he didn't dress appropriately for the position. So that's one of the things that I recommend. We have a fabulous program here, animal and range sciences. You can choose several options. You can do the industry route, science route, equine science route, and then rangeland, you can do the range ecology or the habitat, or wildlife habitat. So we have several options. You're gonna have your core classes, but then I think we have some of the best classes anywhere because we have a lot of hands-on. I know several of you are going out and doing things. I teach the beef production class, so I have a fabulous TA to help me out. And we have people going out, and then the other thing we're really concentrating on in that class is some of the business aspects. Because that's some of the things that you really don't get with just a truly science background. You don't get some of the business. And some of the things that I tried to cover in the class this year was human resource management. He asked me what my biggest challenge every day is personnel management, human resource management. So if you get an opportunity to do that, yes. And you're going to do that no matter how you, what your job is, you're going to deal with people. So that's some of the biggest challenges really is to figure out how to deal with people. Some days it's like adult daycare.
Well, in the animal world, obviously if you're an animal scientist, you enjoy animals and livestock. But the problem is they're attached to people, so you have to deal with their people. And to get their business with the animals in, so it's always people.
Well, and a veterinarian told me a really good quote once, and I always remembered it. He said, "I've never had an animal pick up the phone and call me." And it's very, very true, because you're dealing with emotions and volatile. I mean, in the cattle industry, I'm dealing with high-dollar animals. I mean, you know, you, on any given day, you could have a $75,000 donor drop dead. And I mean, so you're dealing with some big emotions, and I think you have to know how to handle people. So it's definitely.
Oh, it's important. It's going to be something that you learn how to do. But if you can take any kind of classes here and help out. I really think some of the foreign languages, I wish I would have had more foreign language when I was an undergraduate. So, I mean, it is a big culture aspect. But that's something that you just, hard to overcome sometimes. So just the cultural aspects. You go to some of the, I went to Oman, or Muscat, Oman, and took my wife with me, and it was really a big culture shock just having a female there. So that was one thing. And she went actually, we had an administrative assistant there that kind of took her on as a project, and they took her to the mosque and almost caused an international incident. So but it was big time culture change just going over to a Muslim country. So that's one of the things that, there's actually an etiquette class here too that I would recommend that you take the time to attend. Has anybody attended it, or? I know, because I'm in a Rotary Club, and I know a lot of the Rotarians come and sit at the table with people. It's a fabulous opportunity for you to take that class. Well, it's not really a class, it's an evening where you go to a dinner and they have people will sit at your table and let you know which class is yours and which work to use first. I would recommend you use it. Then the other thing that I would highly recommend is get involved in your student organizations. Because when you get out and secure a position, you're going to work in some kind of a committee structure, I would say. Would you guys agree?
Well, that's why I got my job, is because I was a part of Young Cattlemen's. And I mean, you know, you went to all the National Cattlemen's conventions. I was really big in the beef industry, and you have to get your name out there. I mean.
And you make contacts.
You make contacts, yeah. So I would pick, like, you know, at least 5 clubs, because not only do they look good on your resume too.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, and people are, you know, they're going to want to know why you only had a 3.2 GPA in my instance, and it's kind of like, well, I was doing all these different things. So it's definitely looks good.
3.2 is actually good.
Not according. Embarrassing.
My first couple of years, I actually didn't shine.
Your parents are your biggest critics.
Yeah, it's important to keep the grades up, because that's one of the things people are going to look at. Be the first thing they look at, your transcripts. So, and if you don't have a straight 4-point, that's okay, because you can have,
Absolutely fine.
yeah, you know, other activities that you're involved with. And then when you're in organizations, we get involved in the leadership of it. It's really important that you take a role in some of these organizations. We have some fabulous range club, collegiate cattlemen, that's a big one. Equine club, and we're actually trying to get the black bridle started. So that's a national organization. So, but you can get to some of these meetings, and some of the other things we're going to try to do is academic quadrathlon. That's one of the things that gives you an opportunity to go out and meet some of the potential bosses that you're going to have when you go out and do the academic quadrathlon. And then we've actually been pretty competitive here. Last time they had a AQ team, they won it, and then they dropped it the next year, which I'm not sure why, but that's one of the things we want to try to get started.
I would even recommend, you know, some of the social events at conventions that are held regionally, like say the Stock Growers in Billings in December. The Friday of that convention is social, and just walk around and there's a trade show, and those are ag-related businesses promoting their services to the stock growers. And everybody mingles, and you could go around, shake hands, and say, I'm graduating in a couple years, or do you have any summer jobs? I mean, it's just, we always joke, in our industry, it's not what you know, it's who you know. A lot of that is true in a lot of different jobs. You've got to have relationships with people for them to know you, and the 4.0 might not always do it, and they've got to click with you somehow to want you to work with them.
Well, I think the biggest thing for our internships that we offer, because we offer internships throughout the year, by the way, if any of you were ever interested in seeing what it's like to work for a breed association, is that we sit down and we have this pool of resumes, right? And Dr. Lipsy may call and say, hey, you know, which of these kids do you recommend? Because maybe if no one's jumping out at us, it's going to be who your advisor recommends. Who knows this person? Like maybe I happen to know him from, around town or something. And it's very interesting once you start getting into it, because you will have such a bigger chance to get that internship if you have maybe came into our office and introduced yourself and said, not just mail us your resume, follow up with it by saying, hey, I was just checking to make sure you got my resume. And I would say that's huge. Putting a face to the resume helps us make our decisions on every internship we choose. So.
And if they don't have a job, or myself or whoever, they can refer you to somebody that's looking, because we're all connected.
Yep.
And utilize the internships. You don't want to go do something that you're used to doing. So, how many brain science majors do we have here? That's a great program, but I've actually seen people, they want to ride a horse also. That's not an internship. That's a summer, sometimes it's a summer job. Go out and do something that challenges you on your internship. Would you guys agree on that?
Oh, totally. I think the veterinary field is a huge example of that. I worked in it for several years. I grew up believing that's what I was going to be when I grew up, and it's very interesting work. I love it, but I feel like it's a 24/7 thankless job after working in it. I don't think they get paid enough. I don't think, you don't have a life other than your career, and that's not for everybody.
But it's
I don't want to.
You would deter you, like,
it's
I
a
was
cool
gonna
job. It's a very, but if you do an internship, you'll see that side of it.
And I think the biggest thing is I did internships in areas that I thought I may be interested in making a career out of, and pretty quickly after spending 3 months someplace, you know whether you will ever want to go back. So if you're even hesitant, like, do an internship, because it'll give you they usually try to give you a sampling of each of the areas. Like when I did the meat science, the processing facility, I worked in, quality assurance, I worked on the kill floor, I worked, with the ladies in the office. It was a very well-rounded internship, and I highly recommend. It helps you eliminate definitely areas where you don't think you may be interested, so.
And it also introduces you to people if you end up wanting to be in that area.
Absolutely.
Now you have a handful of people who know your work ethic, know your personality, know where you can fit in.
Or at least jobs.
Well, I think because I get to help manage some interns at our association, and my biggest pet peeve is when you're late. And so if you're doing an internship, please, I would rather you be 15 minutes early. It is one of my biggest things. I mean, I will note that down when people ask me one time, not a big deal, but if you're consistently 5-10 minutes late, it really impacts how I rate your performance anyway. I don't know for other people, but
I'm always early.
that's,
Yeah.
So.
I was raised, if you're 15 minutes early, you're on time.
Yep.
If you're on time, you're late. If you're late.
And I know that stuff that sounds silly, but it's stuff that really does weigh into decisions at hiring time. I mean, that person was always, 10 minutes late, like, so. And if I can I brought, in case you guys were interested in knowing more about Simmental cattle, because I realize that they're not the most popular cattle in the U.S., like Angus, I kind of brought these little packets that just give you an overview and has magazines in there and such. So if you're interested, they're up here in the box, and you can kind of glance through and, I mean, it's just one of those things.
The other thing, when you go to trade shows, you can ask if you use that for gifts for Christmas. Stocking stuffers.
I think everybody I knew got payback feed hats last year.
There you go.
Really cool.
There you go.
We also have tonight with us Karen Steele from the Academic Advisor and University Studies.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm just here as an academic advisor. I love what you're saying about definitely get your communication class in, understand how to write well. Those core classes are there for a reason, because no matter what major you choose, whether it's an animal science or I have a degree in civil engineering, even though I'm an academic advisor now. I had to write often. You know, lab reports are one thing, but when you get into the professional work world, you do have to write memos and letters and emails and texts and all kinds of communication, as well as communicating in front of a group of people. You have to be able to speak publicly and feel a little comfortable, even if it makes your heart pound a little bit. Feel comfortable in yourself that you can communicate well. So if you want to take a class that helps you with that, there's COM 110, which is the public speaking class. There's your seminars where you always get an opportunity to speak. And I'm smiling at Luca because she was in my freshman seminar a few years ago. So I teach on campus as well. I like how you guys said, like, you started off in a major, but then your path may be so convoluted you don't know where you're going to end up. But follow your heart. Study what you love. Study what you love. Study what you love. Because if you are studying something that you're not enjoying, even if you graduate with that degree and go into the workforce, it's probably going to catch up with you. I studied engineering, and to tell you the truth, I did not love it. I liked it. I was good at it. But I didn't love it. And by the time I got into the workforce and started working as an engineer, I just didn't have the staying power. I didn't stay long enough to get to those really fun projects. So I quickly moved out, went and got my master's in education, and I've been a teacher. I've taught middle school, high school, and now I teach college, math and science, as well as the seminar. So follow your heart and really listen to it. And it's hard to believe in yourself, and it's hard to recognize sometimes that, but I've gone through all this physics and calculus, and now I really don't like it, and I don't want to switch at this point. But listen to your heart. If it's not really what you're enjoying, then come see an advisor. We're in the Academic Advising Center over in Gaines Hall. Go see your advisor in your department and try to have a heart-to-heart conversation about it and just say, you know what, this is not my thing, but I really do enjoy this part of the curriculum. Or go to career services and find out what your passions are. They do those really cool interest inventories, and if you answer them honestly, it puts out some really interesting careers for you. And then you sit down with the career coaches and they go over it with you and really can figure out, this is some really key points of your personality, key points of how you see your life going. Now, granted, I understand that, like, you could have a career now and then in 10 years have another. I've had, I think, 3 or 4 careers now in my life, and I don't consider myself that old yet. And I'm wondering what's going to come next. I love what I do. I smile every day. I get to talk to students all day long, and I'm going over the time because I'm good at this. I love to talk. But I encourage you guys to have conversations with everyone you can about your major and about coming to this is a great opportunity to meet professionals. That's a great way to understand. And those internships, same thing. You're out there, you're actually practicing and seeing if it's something you enjoy. So we're open every day, 8:30 to 4:30 over in Gaines Hall. If you want to come to the Academic Advising Center and talk with a general advisor, that's what we do. Or go and see your specific advisor in your department if you're already declared. Thanks, you guys. That was it for me.
I just have a few slides left and I'll go through them.
Oh,
Slides, yeah.
Public speaking is not one of those things that I love to do.
You're so good at it. We have a book, I think I listed you. Okay, Education Pays. This is kind of our summary of, this is why you're here. As your education, you'll see the more educated you are, the more you earn, the less likely you are to be unemployed in economic times like we are in now. We do a survey every year, and so when you graduate and you get the call from Career Services that says, what are you doing and how much are you making, please answer those calls. It makes this information that much more valuable and useful for us. We had a 50% response rate of the people that we called. 81.5% have reported being employed or in grad school full-time. 10.9 are employed or in graduate school part-time. 4.4 are unemployed and looking. I think these numbers are pretty good, and I think it's pretty close to the national, well, not unemployed anymore. And then anyway, the group that I want to be in someday, this is what I want to do when I grow up, is be that 2.9% that aren't even working. Just, independently retired. Get by, yeah, retired. Here's our average salary by year and degree. I'm placed on analytics, you guys can't see. This is overall the whole university. It's not specific to animal science. This is where we didn't have a whole lot of respondents for the equine science and the science option. So this is where answer those calls, answer those questions. It's really helpful. This again is university-wide. We're noticing that we're a land grant institution and we're keeping our students in state, and that's a really, really good thing, especially the College of Agriculture. Doing a great job with that. 59% of our MSU graduates remain in state. And look what you get to enjoy while you're here. Thank you everybody for coming.